Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we'll be diving into the topic of brake bias. Firstly explaining exactly what it is, and secondly showing you how to use it in action. We'll also show you how it affects your driving in the TrackTitan platform, where you can also analyse your own data for free and get personalised tips based on your individual performance, if you sign up with the code BrakeBias24. So first things first, what is brake bias? When you push the brake pedal, that force is sent to the brakes to slow the rotation of the wheels. In race cars, you have the option to choose how much pressure you want going to each axle. So brake bias essentially allows you to choose what percentage of the braking force is going to each axle. A brake bias of 50%, for example, means you have 50% going to both the front and the back axles. If you were to shift that up to 60%, then the front takes the brunt, while the rear is only having to handle 40% of the pressure now. But why? What is the advantage of playing around with these? Well, it's because race cars need refining to maximise the performance potential. It's why you can play around with toe, camber, aero, anti-roll bars, etc. to nail down the handling for any given track. Brake bias works in a very similar way. It is usually the only part of the setup which can be adjusted mid-race. This is because it doesn't require a mechanic physically changing something on the car. You can adjust the brake bias per corner if you wish, but it's worth noting that each car has a baseline brake balance that works well for the car's weight distribution, and moving the bias around should only be to refine the handling more towards what you are needing out of the car. So let's discuss what happens when you move the brake bias around. If you shift more brake bias to the front, the car will have slightly more braking force as the weight transfers to the front under deceleration. The brake balance going towards the front also means you'll have more stability as you scrub off speed, but it also makes the car more susceptible to understeer and locking up the front wheels as the tyres reach and surpass their grip limit. Shifting the bias more towards the rear will have less braking force, but it can turn more easily, making trail braking easier to utilise here. Unfortunately, it is also easy to provoke oversteer with a more rear-based brake balance, so you'll have to take more care. As with any part of the setup, it's about finding a balance between the two that works not only for your driving style, but the car you're driving. So as you can change the balance mid-race, a simple way to remember is this. If the car isn't stable under braking, shift the balance forwards. If the car is not rotating enough into the corner, then shift the balance backwards. Many drivers, and I too am guilty of this, tend to leave brake bias alone as you have plenty to keep you occupied during a race. But by understanding how it can be utilised, you begin to realise how it can not only help you get faster, but also aid in racecraft. For example, if you need to overtake an opponent into a corner, shifting brake bias towards the front means you'll possibly be able to brake harder and therefore later into the corner. Of course, as with any aspect of the setup, going too far can result in disastrous consequences, so it's a very fine margin you normally want to operate within. So let's take a look at it while in use. I was driving at MOZA into the turn 1 chicane. I noticed that I was braking earlier than the pro drivers, but any attempt to brake later resulted in attempting the impossible escape road chicane. So I pushed my brake bias forwards and ended up being able to brake later. It took some getting used to as the car was no longer quite as agile as before, which in the chicane was tricky. However, once I got the hang of it, I was able to gain a load of time in this one corner complex alone. Another example is into turn 10 at Bahrain. For as long as I've raced at that track, I have been unable to drive it as well as the pros. They brake later than I do, trail brake and still get on the throttle sooner than I am able to as well. This is a downhill approach, so easy to lock up, plus it's one long continuous corner, so even easier to lock up, and a tight apex which is easy to run wide on. So let's shift the brake balance back a bit. This allows the car to be more agile and helps enhance the effect of trail braking. Again, this took a bit of getting used to as the car was less stable, but once I began to get the hang of it, I was able to gain a load of time. We can see plain as day where the time can be gained, and that is thanks to TrackTitan. TrackTitan not only shows you your session insights right down to your throttle and brake traces, but can also provide personalised tips based on your individual performance. Additionally, as you start to get more accustomed to the platform, you could toggle on advanced mode, which allows you to view the data the way professional drivers would do in real life. By signing up on TrackTitan with the code BrakeBias24, you can get 30 days of unlimited data insights for free to help you get quicker, faster. So back to it. In the simplest possible way, front brake bias is better for high deceleration zones, usually with a straight approach. Rear brake bias is better when the approach isn't straight or you need that agility from the car. Each corner will require fine tuning to find out exactly what works, not only for your car, but also for your driving style. So jump into a practice session, drive your laps, analyse your sessions, and see what is gaining you the most time. Don't forget to analyse your session data on Track Titan, see where you can improve, and we hope to see your name climbing up the leaderboard soon. So thank you for watching, we hope you found this video useful, and we'll see you next time.